Okay, welcome to our health show, live streaming through a new technology. So hopefully you can see me okay. I'm going to be sharing a little bit about Bach flowers. And so first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm talking to you here in Instagram. We're on Zoom. And so I'm going to stand back here. So hopefully you can see me and everything is hunky-dory. So we're talking about Bach flowers today. My name is Siobhan. And delighted to be showing you a demonstration of kinesiology, as well as also having one of my diploma graduates who is up in Donegal, who's a Bach flower expert as well. And so delighted to have her join us as well a little later. So kinesiology's principles of being able to help people very simply, helping with being able to help with self-help. How do you learn how the body works? Really works with Dr. Bach's philosophy of self-help and simplicity. So the Bach flowers are one of the tools that we would use in kinesiology to help transformation, and are also there are 38 of them altogether. There's various different ways in which they're formulated, but they're flower essences, and as I said, there's 38 of them. And so they are very useful to work energetically with anybody who's stressing or got some nervousness going on, they're not sure why. They all have, they work on a kind of homeopathic way. And they are, really help us to, they're an affordable way to help, work with emotions. And so for people who maybe suffer from anxiety or stress or worry, or even have past traumas in their life, then it's a really nice way to be able to help them. So what I'm going to do with the demonstration today is to work with Natasha here. We're going to show you how we incorporate Bach Flower Remedies into our kinesiology treatment. And so one of the things, of course, that we do is that we work with emotions, we work with the physical body, and we work with chemistry. And so, when someone does have a health issue, when they are, so say something like depression, the Bach flowers can really help. And of course, there's going to be other interventions such as taking good nutrition, drinking water. So this isn't to pretend that the Bach flowers will work for every single case, but they're a very nice addition to what we do. So with kinesiology, that it's involving muscle testing. So what we're going to do is we're just going to test a muscle or two and see how Natasha's getting on, and then I'm going to get her to think of a stress and see does that make a difference. Gloria, can you just check that computer there? There's something going on there. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see me okay on Instagram. You can see me all okay on Facebook. Great to be trying to cover as many screens as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to test an indicator muscle first. This is just one of our standard tests where we're going to test a muscle. So you push back towards your head. So we've got a nice strong muscle. I'm going to just check that it switches off temporarily. All right. So again, we're going to push again for me, and that makes her go weak. So we'll just make sure that it's nice and strong again and hold. So once we have that strong muscle, we know that, and we know that it's switching off. We know that it's reliable. It means that we can test, in some cases, emotions against this particular muscle, and we can see the effect. Then we know that it's having an effect on the body, or at least the nervous system. So Natasha, I don't know what she's going to think about. So what I'm going to do is ask you to think about a stress of some sort. You've got something in your mind, yeah? And pull it back for me. So she can see how that makes the muscle go weak. When she thinks of something really pleasant, you got something in mind, something nice and pleasant, and hold back for me. So it's not that she's just not concentrating on the muscle. So think about that stress again for me. And hold. So that goes nice and weak. So what we're going to do next time is we're going to put that into pause lock. It's another tool that we used so that we don't have to keep thinking, Natasha doesn't have to keep thinking about that particular stress. So that means that you're going to bring your feet apart when you think of that, stress. Okay. So again, pull back for me. So think about that stress. All right, and pull back, and then feet apart. Okay. So let's go and see now, have we got that? So pull back for me. So she's no longer thinking about anything, but we're just looking to see whether or not that is now making her completely weak. Lovely. All right. So the way that as a kinesiologist I work with the Bach Flowers is that we can muscle test them. And so there are, lots of different practitioners who would go through, as a Bach Flower consultant, they would have a sense of which flower essences might be the best ones. But with kinesiology, we have a way of being able to actually test and see which ones are the most appropriate. Because every flower essence has a whole load of different meanings to it. Some will be maybe the best guess, and others are like, oh, maybe, yeah, there's an element of that particular coming in there. So, okay, so let's go to... Okay, let's have a go and see. So we are at the moment in weakness, and we're going to see what we've got here. And we're just checking. Yeah, let's go to that one. Push back for me. So there's something under there that makes her this strong. We're going to test this side. And again, push back for me. So there's nothing on that one. And then we're just going to do these end ones. Push back for me. So there's nothing there. So let's go to this side. And let's do those first three. Pull back for me. So something in here. So let's go to the first one. And again, pull back. Nice and strong. The next one. And again, weakness. And then the next one. So just that first one made her go nice and strong. We'll just check the other three there. And pull back. So again, no change. So just that one particular Bach flower. I'm not going to give any secrets away. I'm just going to use that to balance her. And so what we do is we put a little bit of the Bach Flower Remedy under the tongue. So I'm going to get you to open wide. So we just put a few little drops there. And then she can think about that stress that she has been, that she was thinking of. And then we're going to hold our ESR points, these emotional stress release points that I think you've maybe seen me before do on a previous episode. So, if you are someone who is under stress, when I speak to Maria, we're going to talk a little bit about that. And we've got exams coming up. We've got, a lot of fear in the world. And so sometimes it's nice to be able to use these remedies to gently work with them and really kind of help to clear some of those worries. So you keep focusing in on that. Nice little deep breath there, which was nice. And let's see if we have any weakness. So previously, when she thought about that stress, she was in weakness. So if you bring your feet together, and again, so really now think about that stress that we were thinking about before. You've got that in mind. Okay, great. And again, pull back for me. And now she's able to, we haven't got rid of necessarily the stress, but we've got rid of the effects of it. And so very, very nice way of being able to work with clients. Sometimes we might use them for quite current issues, but also what's really nice is to work with very past issues that the energy of that past stress is still existing. So thank you, Natasha. If you want to hop off there, thank you for joining us. And I'm going to come and sit down here in front of the computer so that I can talk to Maria. And thank you for joining us on Instagram. Hopefully that was a nice demo for you. But we're going to be going on to another computer now. So thank you very much. And see you soon again. Okay, so let me join us here. And we are going to bring in Maria. So great to see you, Maria. Can you hear me okay?
I can indeed, yes. Yes.
Super, super. We've never done this before, but we're using a different software than we normally would when we're doing Facebook Live. So fingers crossed, all of the technology works for us. But yeah, I wanted to invite Maria to join me on this special call so that we could discuss some of the amazing Bach flowers. So Maria, you are a Bach flower consultant as well as or a homeopath. Is that right? Tell me a little bit about your introduction into what you have done and why and how you brought kinesiology into your practice.
Okay, Siobhan. So I would have studied initially homeopathy in 2002. I completed that training 2006. Okay, so I suppose I have always been very, very interested in how the emotions affect the person on a physical level. So that kind of naturally led on to using and learning about the Bach Flower Remedies. What I love about the Bach Flower Remedies is their simplicity. They're a little natural essence that connects with the emotional realm of the person. So I find them absolutely amazing. They are safe. They're not blinded in scientific theories. They can be used in every household and for every situation that has an emotional impact on the person. Okay? Is that okay, Siobhan?
Keep going.
Okay. I suppose we were chatting yesterday about the high amount of households, and when I say households, whole families are affected when a young person is doing exams, the junior cert or the leaving cert. Okay? So there are very, very particular remedies that are absolutely amazing for working with stress and anxiety. I'm going to hold up the number one. I suppose the number one remedy would be the rescue remedy. Okay, it is a blend of 5 different essences that would connect with all of the emotions that the young person would be experienced from. Fear, the anxiety, there's that much going on in their head that they cannot even focus to sit down and study. So on a very basic level, that would be the number one remedy that I would recommend that the parents would get for their children. I would also ask them to begin taking it now, because don't forget, a child has to be in a certain frame of mind to be physically able to sit down and get the study in. But I suppose not only, how would I describe this? We also get different personality types. We would get children in particular who are the warriors, constant warriors. We get the children the daydreamers, okay? They just let everything come and everything go, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you have to apply yourself to sit down and get some studying done, then that's where the beauty of the essences come in, okay? They're non-addictive, so parents are not to be worrying about any long-term effects of addiction or anything like that, okay? Because they are an essence, they're not a material substance, and they are connecting. Don't forget emotions. Emotions, even though we can visibly, I suppose, see someone who would be emotionally upset, We can't always see if somebody is sad or if they're over anxious, because an awful lot of us hide our deeper feelings, okay? So we get the fearful types, we get those types of children who don't seem to care about what they're going to do, therefore exams wouldn't be top of their list. So there are two very particular essences for lack of motivation. One would be a wild rose that would center them more to become interested in what they're doing, what they need to do to get those exams done. So they would be the children who have insufficient interest in what is going around them or what they want to do. They just sail through life. They're terribly resigned to everything. And you know, that's okay on some level, but I totally believe that everybody is here for a purpose, and we are here to make the absolute best of ourselves and what we can do and what we can offer other people, okay? And then I just have a few notes. You get the terribly uncertain types who are always seeking advice from other people. They don't know what they want to do in life, and there are very particular essences for that, like scleranthus. Scleranthus cannot make or make a decision about two things. They just can't do it. To be or not to be. I always think that's a good way of remembering. And then you get the children who are
Oh, we've just lost your sound, Maria.
Oh, have you?
Oh no, you're good again. Then you have the children. We lost you for a couple of seconds.
Okay, can you hear me again?
Yeah.
You can hear me, okay. You get the gentian type of children or adults who would be very, very easily discouraged by setbacks. And we know that ourselves, that when we get a disappointment, over time we will pick ourselves up. But there are children who would be terribly upset about this and would actually give up, okay? We get the wild oat child who does not have a clue about what they want to do. And we hear this all the time. Children are trying to make decisions about what courses they're going to do, what they're going to do. Wild oat would be the main essence for that, okay? And then you get the loners. These are the children who would keep everything to themselves. They can be under extreme stress, but they find it difficult to talk, okay? These are usually quite intelligent young people, but just keep too much to themselves. They can apply themselves to work. They would be very organized, but they this innate want to be alone will not help them in their future, because I suppose most occupations in life is about interacting with others. Okay, so that the water violet type person will benefit in, I suppose, putting themselves out there a wee bit more. In saying that, they're an absolute joy to be around. They bring a calmness, you know. And then you get the heather type, that no matter what is going on in their lives, they have to tell everybody. These are the people that you hate, that you absolutely hate to run into in a supermarket. You cannot get away from it, because it's all about me. Okay? So every little sickness, everybody has to know about it. That would be, and then you get the very, very oversensitive type of child. They're over anxious. We could describe them as being, I suppose, potential doormats They allow to be used. And we also get that in adults, not only children. So there has to be a certain level of a feeling of self-worth. And that is what the remedy will do. It will restore that balance for the person, okay? For any type. Are you okay, Siobhan? Yeah?
Which remedy was the last one?
The last one was Centauri.
That's I had it on my hands to bring it up forward. So there's Centauri. Yeah.
Centauri.
Definitely.
Don't forget at this time of year of exams, and for anyone who is undergoing any change, particularly after the exams, when young people are heading off, that transition of moving from home away to college, it is so important, the essence walnut. Walnut is absolutely fantastic for any change that is going on. Don't forget the walnut, the hard shell that is protecting the precious nut inside it. And that is what the essence does. It protects us against outside influences, okay?
A quick question for you, Maria, about moving on and transitions and things like that. So you have walnut, but you also have honeysuckle. I was just wondering, is there something that you could explain about the differences between those two kind of moving on type of essences?
Okay. I suppose the keynote to remember is that when you are continually looking back, you cannot move forward. Okay? So there's a lot of nostalgia there. Honeysuckle is an absolute number one remedy as well when the young people would leave home and go away to college. It's a great remedy for homesickness. Okay? For those who are finding it difficult to settle down and settle in. This will protect them. This will very, very gently allow them to move on, settle in, and enjoy college life, So that is the differences. The walnut person is also very, very open to outside influences. So it helps them to remain centered, to know what they should be doing and should not be doing as well, not to be listening to advice that may lead them astray. So that protection is there with the walnut.
Super. That's great. Thank you, Maria. We're just looking. I'm just looking at the time. I'm seeing some of the comments, and yeah, apologies if you couldn't see. I'm not too sure where I am in the picture and how much we can see on Facebook. I have a lovely wide screen in front of me, but yeah. So some of the ones that Maria has been talking about. I don't know if you can see that one now. We've got Gentian. We talked about, but we'll make a list for you so that you can see them. But thank you for letting me know, Victoria. Yeah, great content. I want to just read out a student that we have on the course at the moment. She has had a 9-year-old coming to her for some help in relation to anxiety after being locked accidentally in the car when his mum was collecting his sister, and it was only for a few minutes, but he felt trapped and afraid. And so she did some of that ESR that I did on Natasha earlier, and tested him for a few Bach Flower Remedies, and something that she could continue to give. So while I gave Natasha some of the nutrition, some of the Bach Flower into you pass me that little bottle there, into her mouth. What I would do at home or do at the clinic is that I would then put some water, some spring water or bottled water into. Let me see if you can see that properly. Into this, 3/4 full, if you like, and then put a few drops of the Bach Flower Remedy in it, and then we succuss it. So we make this all very much the whole energy of the homeopathic remedy, if you like, of that flower essence So that's what she did. She got her son to do, or this little boy to do, with the mum, doing some ESR about being locked up in the car, and he said that he could feel it in his tummy, and when he said it was gone, and he could see then lots of green. He was then finished. He was all finished. He sat up talking about football for about 10 minutes. He obviously he obviously didn't know his audience, but the difference from him before and after was amazing. So that was from Melissa, which is a lovely story, because whether you know what the emotion is or the stress, working with kids is lovely. And as Miria says, Rescue Remedy, or the range of products that I have, it's called 5 Flower Remedies. There's a mixture of 5 in there, particularly great for shock. It's got Star of Bethlehem in it, which is for shock. So just something really nice to be able to do with kids, that they find it very, very soothing. So Miria, have you got a story or two that you'd like to share to inspire people to maybe go out to their local health food shop and get a couple of remedies?
Well, yes, these can be used by anyone at home. I suppose what is great connection really is that the precise remedies that are needed at that time can be identified and put into the one blend. Okay. Wait to tell you about what I observed in a restaurant last week. I was having lunch, and not too far from me there was 2 beautiful little girls eating their lunch with their parents, and the youngest one moved away, and she went down to the window and she was looking out. There's a lovely duck pond outside, and she was very, very content. And then she was joined by the younger child, looked to be about 18 months. And the very happy, contented little child began every now and again to give out a screech. And I turned around and looked. I couldn't see nothing that was happening. And I looked away again, and then she let out another wee roar. And I looked around again, and I saw that the older child was reaching around and nipping her. Okay? So that's what the child was screeching about, and straight away it came into my head that the older child needs Holly. Holly would be a very jealous, very, very jealous, very, very spiteful type of remedy, and that's what that child needed. We see it in everyday life when we look around us, and you can identify the very essences that these people need. But can I also say that I think it's important that, particularly around exam time, we do get young people, in spite of their great ability, that they push and push and almost to the limits. And if you're looking at anxiety on a continuum, at one end you get the child who will rise to the occasion, the event will come and the event will go, but you will also see the children who push themselves too much, and that has a catastrophic effect on them, both emotionally and physically. Okay, so for anxiety that would veer more towards panic, I would use the rock rose for that. I would put that in the blend. Okay, so you have, for fear, you have the mimulus. That is for everyday fears that you can identify, know what you're frightened of. You have the aspen fears that are very kind of out there, but sometimes you cannot always identify them. Okay. And then you have the rock rose at the other end of the continuum that veers towards the panic attacks. Do you know what I mean? So anxiety then can start to hold the child back, has a terrible effect on them physically. We all know the effect that it has on them emotionally, physically, on the immune system. It completely exhausts them, wears them down, and it's not a nice state for parents to be observing when their child is so stressed, you know. So I would advise, even for parents as well, don't forget at the minute, who are so over anxious about, to get the white chestnut and red chestnut. Red chestnut is for cares and worries, particularly to do with our children and those that we are close to. Okay. Also a great remedy for people who are in the caring profession like ourselves. Red chestnut is very, very good for that. So there's absolutely no limits to what Bach Flower Remedies can achieve in a very safe way. They can restore balance to the emotions. Okay? Yeah. So.
Thank you, Maria. Yeah, I think that what we should say is that they are made on alcohol, and so not appropriate for those who avoid alcohol. Perfectly safe. It's such a small amount, for kids. But you can apply them to the skin as well. So you could, have them on our lovely ESR points that we use for emotional distress. So that would definitely be something that you could then just rub it very gently into the skin, and so there's no impact there. Well, thank you so much, Maria, for a beautiful presentation. We've got a long list of Bach flowers that we have whistle-stop toured through, and lots of very valuable information to help people going through times of stress. If anybody is interested in finding their select blend, for a particular issue, well, then I would obviously recommend a session with a kinesiologist, because sometimes we'll have we could have maybe 3 or 4 or even 5 or 6 Bach Flower remedies that would help to complete the treatment from an emotional perspective. And of course, as you said, sometimes people have structural problems can impact on depression and worry. We're very much, into this very forward flexion. And so even how we hold our bodies can impact on our emotions too. So I definitely recommend that if you are interested in what you've learned today, that go for a session with a practitioner and ask specifically about exploring the Bach flowers. So do we have any questions? A couple of questions come in.
Yeah, you've covered a lot of the topics about how young children should get them. But there is one, how often would you give Bach Flower Remedies? Is there a certain time or an instant that happens?
Oh yeah, so about the timing, how often do we take Bach flowers? So for example, if you've been sent home with a bottle of your particular blend, how many times a day would you take it? What I would say, it's not like a supplement, or it's not really about if you don't need 4 doses a day. For me, my recommendation is usually 3 or 4 times a day, and it might be that if you have a particular issue that you're struggling with, is that every time you think of that particular stress, that's a good time to take it. But Maria, have you any other additional advice about how often?
Well, no, you're right. When the blend is made up, they should get about 3 weeks. 3 weeks out of that blend. Okay, but don't forget, it can also be put into bottled water. Okay, especially for young people doing exams, and they all drink water. They can be added, the drops can be added, so that they're getting the remedy throughout the course of the exam or whatever. I'm trying to think. Can be put in a baby's bottle, and can be applied topically to the skin. Yeah, and they do eat pastils now as well, don't they? They do little melts or something, or pastilles.
Yeah, a comment just came up there that so you can get them in granules now as well. So
Yes,
that's great. Super. Well, listen, our lunchtime session is coming to an end. Thank you so much, Maria, for joining us. The technology seems to keep going okay. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you join us and share your wisdom. And I think it's nice for people to see other people as well. So thank you very much. Our next episode is going to be, I think, a Thursday. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. On the 29th.
29th of June. And I think we've been getting some requests to help with adrenal stress. So people who have the symptom of a lot of stress, obviously Bach Flowers help hugely, but we're going to be focusing in on the adrenals and how we can really support the adrenals. So I hope you'll join us then on that next lunchtime session. It'll be episode 9 on Thursday, the 29th of June. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to seeing you next month. And thank you again, Maria, for a fantastic broadcast.